Hey everybody, this is James Hernandez. How you all doing? Hope you're all doing good. Hope you guys had a great week. And welcome to another movie review. And this time I'm going to be reviewing another superhero movie that I also have been requested to do. And which is going to be interesting because I haven't been reviewing a superhero movie ever since I reviewed two superhero movies. First being was Watchmen and second being was Spider-Man. So since the new Superman movie is going to be coming this summer, I thought it would be a good idea to review the very first Superman movie directed by Richard Donner, and it stars Christopher Reeve as Superman. So the very first Superman movie, simply known as Superman the Movie, or Superman, is a 1978 superhero movie directed by Richard Donner, and the movie stars Christopher Reeve and Gene Hackman. So the plot for the movie is literally the origin of, well, Superman. Kal-El, that is from planet Krypton before it got destroyed, he was sent to Earth, and he was raised by the Kents, which they named him Clark, and then he actually took the identity of Superman, and Superman has known for saving the day, saving Metropolis, and being like a famous superhero. And that's literally at the plot because everyone knows about the story of Superman, and he is actually going to defeat Lex Luthor, who is actually plotting to take over the world, much like Lex Luthor was in other Superman incarnations. So I actually got all these four Superman movies from the store Blast from the Past, and my parents took me to go to that place. And if you guys don't know what Blast from the Past is the store where it has all of these old school nostalgic stores of, well, not stores, nostalgic stuff, everything retro, like DVDs, Blu-rays, video game consoles, and pretty much everything else, which I actually really love going to places like this because usually I know when movies are always coming out, they always come on streaming, which honestly I really don't trust streaming sites at all because literally movies and shows will be taken off. So I think it's better that I actually got the physical copies of the movies, and I think it's way better than streaming. But anyways, let's talk about the very first Superman movie. So I got all these four movies based on the actual character Superman. And I watched it when I was at my grandparents' house, and then I watched it when I was at home. And what do I think of Superman? It's such an iconic superhero movie. Superman is the character that actually popularized superheroes. And let's be real here, guys. If it wasn't for Superman, then none of these other superheroes would ever exist. If Superman didn't exist, there would be no Batman, there'll be no Spider-Man, no Wonder Woman, no Hulk, no Captain America, no Avengers, no Iron Man, no Watchmen or Kick-Ass, and the whole list goes on. These characters wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Superman. So let's talk about Christopher Reeve as Superman. Now, Christopher Reeve is, well, he's not the first live action actor to play Superman, but he's the actor that everyone is very familiar with when it comes to the live action incarnation of Superman. And what really makes Christopher Reeve an iconic actor playing Superman is that he gives Superman a story, he gives Superman personality, and he did a very good job with his performance, and not only as Superman, but also when he's Clark Kent. When he's Clark Kent, he is very nerdy. He's got the big glasses to cover his identity to make him look like a nerd. And he can actually be pretty clumsy at times, but he really does have a good heart. And when he is Superman, he's very heroic, he's very nice, he's very kind, he's a lovable Boy Scout, and he just enjoys being a hero. And that's what really makes Superman a really good superhero. And Christopher Reeve did very well with his performance. There's nothing much I can say about Christopher Reeve's performance as the Man of Steel. He just did a very good job of being one of the most iconic superheroes in comic books. And he is just a really good Superman. Now let's talk about the actress Margot Kidder, I hope I'm saying her name right, as Lois Lane. Now, we all know Lois Lane is Clark Kent / Superman's love interest, and she works at the Daily Planet. And she actually did a very good job as well as being like a very kind, very sweet love interest, a very nice woman to Clark and Superman. And one of my favorite scenes with her and Superman is when Superman goes up to the building to save Lois, and when he catches her and saves her life, he was like, "Easy, miss, I got you." And then she said, "You got me? Who's got you?" And it's like one of my favorite moments between these two, especially like when she gets to meet Superman for the second time, when Superman flies with her, and the whole like sequences like when Superman was like flying with Lois is actually one of the most like beautiful scenes that I've ever seen. Like it really does remind me of Peter Pan, where Peter Pan takes the darling children to Neverland in like every incarnation of Peter Pan. And the scene like where these two were interacting with each other when they talk to each other, it's actually very sweet. I actually really do like their chemistry, and Lois Lane is just such a very likable love interest to Superman, and this actress did a very very good job, and I really have to give her praise for being like one of the best incarnations of Lois Lane in the Superman franchise. Now I'm going to be talking about Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. Not much I can say about Lex Luthor because he's usually like the cliche villain that you pretty much like have seen. And while he's not like the Lex Luthor that I actually will remember or always like think of, but Gene Hackman is actually very good. And I think he's like way better than Jesse Eisenberg in Batman v Superman, where he is like, I don't know, like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor is so bad, and he just comes off as like being like a really like young version of Willy Wonka, like Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it just seems out of place for for Superman's arch nemesis or even one of the smartest villains in the DC universe. But Gene Hackman, on the other hand, I think he's actually a really good actor who played Lex Luthor very well. The only problem I kind of had with his performance, not his performance, but like with Lex Luthor's character, is that he and Superman don't really get that much screen time together. I guess they only have like one screen time, but not so much. And I would have liked to see like more of like the brains versus brawn, because like Superman is one of the strongest superheroes in the DC universe or even the comic books, while Lex Luthor is he's actually the brains. Like he is very intelligent, and he knows about Superman's main weakness, and that is of course kryptonite, the green one, which actually kills him. And yeah, like I think the characters in the cast who play Superman, Lois Lane, and Lex Luthor, they all did a very good job. And I also really like the John Williams theme score, and it was so iconic whenever you see Superman, coming to save the day, and he saves Lois Lane, and he also like reverses time like at the end when he just like fixes everything, and then you hear the song when it goes like do 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 do. It's like so iconic for a Superman movie, much like when John Williams made a theme song for Jaws. Wherever like the shark comes, is just very iconic, and he still did a very iconic music score for Superman. Now, do I have any problems with the first Superman movie? I guess the only issue I kind of had with the film is that, aside from Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, which is not to say he's bad, I think he's good, but like he's not the Lex Luthor that I would look up to as being like one of the smartest villains in the DC universe. But the other problem I kind of had with the movie, it's not the special effects that is dated, because to be fair, it is just a movie that came out in the late 70s. And I think the effects still looks really good. Like when Superman was flying, he still looks good. I think one of the problems I kind of had with the movie is that Superman's biological father, Jor-El, basically just says Krypton, and he says Krypton like so many times, like, well, not so many times because he's not in the movie very 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 long. Like when we first saw him at the beginning of the movie, when we see Krypton, and then when we got to see him when he was talking to Clark, when Clark went to the Fortress of Solitude, and then he kept saying Krypton, and I'm like, it's not Krypton, it's Krypton. Like I don't know if he's like trying to say Krypton like as hard as he can, or maybe it's like the director or maybe the writers are like telling him to say Krypton like in not in the right way. They kept saying Krypton, and I was just like, it's Krypton. Like it's not Krypton, it's Krypton. But it didn't really like ruin the movie, obviously. But he is like not in very long, and he still does a good job as being like a biological father to Clark, or this time Kal-El, because that was his original name when he was from planet Krypton before he got sent to Earth before Krypton was destroyed. And he what else? Uh, yeah, and it basically just said he actually says like the message to Superman or Clark by saying, you know, like you have great powers, and his adoptive father Jonathan Kent tells Clark, and he says this line by saying, and there's one thing that I do know, son, is that you are here for a reason. And those are really two good lines from both Jonathan Kent and Carell. Now, the only problems I kind of had with the movie is that in the end, just feels a bit odd when Superman like reverses time, like when he was saving after he saved California from like the earthquakes that Lex Luthor has caused, and then when he was about to save Lois Lane, it was too late. So then Superman was feeling he was angry, he was sad, and he basically just like flies up to the sky. Now, when he reverses time, it didn't bother me very much because of like the way how he reverses time to save everyone, especially Lois, who is the woman that Superman loves. It makes sense that he does that because he wants to make sure that he wants to do the right thing to save everyone. That's why Clark Kent became Superman. He wants to do what is right. He wants to save people that he loves. He wants to save the woman he loves. And he wants to save everyone because the world needs Superman. And yeah, I do understand like with the way how he kind of reverses time makes absolutely no sense. But at least, you know, it doesn't really feel out of character when Superman reverses time and then, you know, just fix up everything and just making sure that none of these disasters happen, especially bad things happen to Lois. Now, so yeah, I think that's my overall like issues I have with the movie. Like, not too many issues because the movie does came out in the 70s, and I still think it's a very good superhero movie in my opinion. And the cast did a very good job. I thought like there's not much like action in the movie, but like there's no like punches or kicks like in the superhero movies that we have got, later on, or even the superhero movies that we got nowadays. But when there is action, like when Superman was like flying, or he's like saving the day, when he catches the criminals, and then he saves Lois, it still really holds up, and then it really shows us that Superman is a really, 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 really good superhero. And like I said in the beginning of this review, if it wasn't for Superman, then the other superhero characters from DC, Marvel, or Dark Horse and other comic book companies would never exist if it wasn't for Superman. And I also want to talk about the death of Jonathan Kent. Now, with Jonathan Kent's death in this movie actually does make sense because he actually died of a heart attack. And when Clark when Clark was at the funeral with his adopted mother Martha, he says that he has like the powers that he could have he has all the powers and he could have saved his life. And it actually really does build up a scene very well, and you actually feel bad for both Clark and Jonathan Kent. Unlike Man of Steel, where it was just like, oh, Jonathan Kent just like died from a tornado, which I just think it's really not effective, and it feels really out of place for Jonathan Kent to like get killed off in Man of Steel when the tornado takes him, which I think that's very. I don't think I really was not mad when he did that. I just think it just feels lazy. But in this one, it actually makes more sense because he can't save someone from a sickness. Whereas in Man of Steel, I felt like Clark just could have like rescue his father, even when his adoptive father tells him not to rescue him. I was just like, come on, Clark, go save him. You're Superman. You have the powers, even though yeah, you're not Superman yet, but you still have powers. But in this one, when he saw that Jonathan Kent just passed out when he was on the floor, and then he passed away of a heart attack, it it makes sense because like Clark couldn't save his adoptive father from a sickness, and that's what really makes the scene like very effective, very heartbreaking, and it's very sad, and you feel bad for both Jonathan Kent and Clark Kent, you know. So I think that Jonathan Kent's death in this movie makes more sense, unlike Man of Steel. But so yeah, overall, I think Superman the movie is really good. Yeah, the effects are dated just because the movie came out in the 70s, but to be fair, this is how like superhero movies were like back then. And I still think the effects does look really good, even though it is a superhero film from the 70s. And I think the cast did a very good job, especially Christopher Reeve, you know, being an iconic actor playing an iconic superhero that popularized other superheroes. And the music score by John Williams is fantastic, and the flying sequences with Superman is great. His chemistry with Lois Lane is good, and Metropolis looks like Metropolis, and the Daily Planet looks like the Daily Planet, and it's just overall a good movie. I really do enjoy Superman the movie. This is also one of my favorite superhero movies of all time, and yeah, I think that's all I got to say. So if you really want to like watch like a really good superhero movie where it really does popularize the superhero genre, then Superman the movie is the movie that I highly recommend to everybody, especially if you're a fan of superheroes. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna give Superman the movie a 9.6 out of 10. I thought this is a very good superhero movie. It does have some small nitpicks, but it does have some small problems, but I still think it's a really good superhero movie, and I think everyone did a very good job, and I think John Williams did very well with the score. And I am very excited for the brand new Superman movie coming this July, which I'm so hyped up for, because like I really want the DC universe to be good, and I really want the superhero genre to come back and being like an actual good superhero movie. Don't make the superhero movies being like a silly, goofy comedy, be like, oh, we gotta be silly, we gotta be goofy and all that. No, I really don't want that. I really want a superhero movie to be an actual superhero film. Sure, you can have some humor in some of the superhero movies, but I really don't want them to like overdo the jokes like so much, unlike what the new Marvel movies has been doing. So, but anyways, guys, so overall, that's my review for Superman the movie. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I would love to hear from you guys. Have you guys seen Superman the movie? If so, what'd you guys think of it? Comment below, let me know, and also feel free to subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and turn on the notifications when I make future videos. And stay tuned, and I'm going to make the next chapter of the Marvel Transformers crossover, which I have been working on since before I was doing this review. And I also got some other videos I'm going to be working on. So yeah, that's all I got to say for today. Hope you guys enjoy my review for Superman the movie. This is James Hernandez signing out just by doing the Superman theme song. Da 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 da.